Breaking right now, the Ofcommunists have claimed another scalp. Talk TV has dumped the popular presenter Russell Quirk from its lineup after he decided to make a bid to become the first ever mayor of Essex under the Reform UK banner. Now, the irony of this, of course, is that no one has any issues with left-wing politicians, elected ones, presenting shows on LBC. They've never had an issue with that, be it David Lammy or Angela Rayner. There's a whole litany of them. But Russell Quirk posted on this, Ofcom says I can't present a radio TV show during the period in which I'm standing for local council elections in case I unfairly influence you. Yet the husband of the Foreign Secretary can be part of an ITV discussion where her friend, the Chancellor, is interviewed. Two-tier broadcasting rules. And he is, of course, referring there to this ludicrous situation which regularly occurs on Good Morning Britain, where you have Ed Balls, apparently an impartial news presenter, repeating the pillow talk that he had with his wife, the now Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper. It is nuts. Russell, as you can imagine, is not happy about this, so he sent us this video.
Hey Dan, hey everybody, it's Russell Quirk. I'm sorry I'm mobile, I'm rushing around a bit because I'm up for election tomorrow, in fact, Thursday. And herein lies the thing. It turns out that my, albeit brief, underwhelming media career during my election period has rather been halted by the Ofcommunists, as you, Dan, would term them. Get this, the rules say that as an election candidate, I am not allowed to broadcast as a presenter. I can be a guest, I can be a host, can't be a presenter. The reason being, one would imagine, is because Ofcom believe that you are also stupid, that even if I were to declare that I'm a candidate for reform, that I might say things that influence you, that make you do things or vote or believe in a particular way that is somehow unfair. That rather insults your intelligence, don't you think? However, on the other hand, it seems that every day, at all times, any time that they see fit, ITV and the like can have the likes of Ed Balls sitting next to Susanna Reid whilst they both interview the Chancellor of the Exchequer. Well, what's wrong with that, you say? Well, what's wrong with that is that Ed Balls' wife is the Foreign Secretary, and the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, is one of her best friends. That seems to be okay in terms of bias, in terms of manipulation, in terms of, tweaking the knobs of democracy, so to speak. What do you think about that? I mean, I think I think it's fine, by the way, for Ed Balls to interview his wife's friend. I think that's absolutely fine. But it has to be a level playing field. Otherwise, it's effectively two-tier broadcasting, isn't it? That I'm not allowed to speak to you as a presenter on an opinion show on TV or radio, but it's fine for Ed Balls to soft soap an interview with his wife's mate. Surely there should either be one rule for everybody or no bloody rules at all, which actually is what I favour. Anyway, angry of Brentwood.
To my superstar fan of all of Liddy Haynes, Sarah White of Reform UK, and Father Calvin Robinson. So Father Calvin, look, I mean, we know all about the Ofcommunists, all about them. And the whole thing is, Father Calvin, the Ofcommunists never used to care, did they, when it was left-wing presenters? Still don't. They are specifically designed to try and drive small c conservatives out of what they describe as the broadcasting ecosystem. They were successful at GB News when it came to us and Mark Stein and Lawrence Fox and a whole load of others. And now their goal, because they are working for a Labour government, is to take out major Reform UK voices. I mean, I think the whole Ofcommunist system, Father Calvin, is completely irrelevant now anyway, because what it does is force these sort of faux debates between the left and the right, but actually so many issues are not discussed in that manner today, Father, so it doesn't work anyway. But are you surprised that they're doing this? Is it right that they're driving Russell off Talk TV because Talk TV is scared of getting the fines and the scrutiny? Big news. Outspoken is now available as a podcast too. So please do subscribe wherever you get yours, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and make sure you rate and review. I'll take 5 stars, if you may.
I agree with Russell entirely. Either it needs to be one rule for all, or they need to get rid of the rules entirely. I think disbanding Ofcom at this point will be a good move
Oh, God, yeah.
for
It's
the
gotta
next
go.
government. Yeah, it's got to go. It is, of course, a regulatory body that is arm's length from the government, but we all know it's part of the government agenda, and that's a major problem.
Totally.
We can't have the government impeding on what journalists can and cannot do and say. It's bizarre that we have a country where that's the case. It's kind of communist, really, or I suppose that's why you call them Ofcommunists. But also, there are voluntary regulators, so organisations opt in to Ofcom. I'd love to see what would happen if all the channels just decided to opt out. What would they
but
do
the problem
there?
is, well, they can do that, but then they are unable to broadcast through the terrestrial airwaves. So like Talk TV could opt out now if it went off radio and stuck to digital. But if they want to stay on digital, they've got to keep the Ofcommunist regulation. I mean, Hayne, what's really interesting to me is that, I mean, Father Calvin's completely right. Of course, it's not arm's length from government, really. I mean, it claims to be. But we've now got Lisa Nandy, the Culture Secretary, specifically calling for the Ofcommunists to act to get Nigel Farage removed from GB News, for example. So it definitely feels to me like they are now targeting Reform UK because Reform UK is the threat to the establishment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, the whole Ofcom thing is just another attack on free speech, which 100%. We're seeing every day. Boring. And we all know what's going on. I mean, I spoke to somebody today, Sarah and I spoke to somebody today who was arrested for a tweet. And the tweet was the most, I mean, I wouldn't say it was inoffensive, but it wasn't offensive. I don't even know why you.
And you know what? If you want to post a goddamn offensive tweet, you should be allowed to.
It was so, I couldn't quite believe that he had 4 police cars that turned up to arrest him in front of his family. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. But as far as the continuous assault on Nigel and the continuous assault on Reform, they're terrified. Let's be clear. The whole country, bar the minority of hardcore lefties and hardcore Labourites, they are all, everybody, even people that would be normally sort of centre-right, quite liberal, are all moving towards reform because there is no other choice. Simple. There is no other choice. The government, the Labour Party are an absolute bunch of morons. They've got nothing to offer. They're destroying the economy. They're destroying the fabric of the country, and they are turning people on each other at a rate that is I've never seen before in all my life living in this country. So they have completely lost control. Conservative aren't even on the horizon in any shape or form. And then you've got ridiculous liberals jumping around with Ed, who's like the Mr. Bean of politics. So you've got nobody else. And Reform, for all of their, all their wrongs, and I'm not saying that they're perfect, but, they are listening and they are sensing and they are understanding what the country want and what the country need. And Labour are terrified. They're terrified they're not going to make the 2029 election because they're terrified that, the country's going to erupt and turn on them. And I mean, once, I believe, within the next 6 months, year max, that we are financially completely crippled, there will be no choice but to go to a general election, and they know they're going to be wiped out. So every tiny opportunity they get to badmouth Nigel, badmouth Reform, and do everything they can to restrict their freedom of speech, that's what they're going to do. It's classic retaliation when you're backed into a corner.
And Sarah White, I mean, you're very tapped in to the Reform UK world in Essex, right? And Reform UK really is now a stronghold in your community. Is Russell Quirk the favourite to take on this role as the Essex mayor? Because I imagine there's going to be a lot of big names who are going to be competing to be selected.
I mean, yeah, yeah, definitely. He'd be one of the favourites for sure. I mean, you never know how the voting goes, do you? I would have quite liked to have seen Orla myself as Essex Mayor. I do believe she would have been the best candidate. But you know, it just shows how scared Labour really is, and it's not just Labour; it's Conservative that are scared, because the reason why our elections were cancelled here in Essex was because of the Conservative councillors in this area, because they all voted to have our elections cancelled, because they all know that basically this is a very stronghold here of reform voters, and they are all going to lose their seats, definitely. So, you know, but what's quite funny is if he doesn't get the seat of Essex Mayor, what happens then? Will he be allowed his position back, or will they still deem him as, oh, you know?
Well, it's really interesting. I think so, but this is the whole stupid thing, right? And Father Calvin knows this. It's ludicrous, right? Like, I know that there are a whole load of presenters on GB News and Talk TV who are planning or already in discussions to either like try and become a reform peer or run for a reform seat or take on a reform job. I mean, Jeremy Kyle actually came clean the other day with The Sun and admitted that. But the problem is, Father Calvin, they have to lie. They have to pretend to be an impartial broadcaster just to appease the Ofcommunists. That's what I hate. I hate the fakery. I just want to know. Like, I want to know if I'm listening to someone, I want to know that they are going to be a Reform UK candidate, because then you can listen with a degree of sort of understanding about where they're coming from. They're obviously not going to be critical of Reform UK, right? Because we know how Reform UK work. If you're critical at all, you're thrust out. So what I hate is actually, I think this whole Ofcom regulation system, Father Calvin, makes broadcasting less honest. And I thank God that, at least for the moment, touch wood and pray, we are not regulated by the Ofcommunists. But first, if you're anything like me, you've spent so much time trying to find the perfect skincare treatments for your face, only to realise you've been neglecting the skin on your neck. But as I've got older, I know that's a massive oversight, because the neck is on display all the time, yet lots of folk just treat it as an afterthought in their routine. And I know I'd fallen into that trap. And what's been interesting actually is, since starting this campaign with Go Pure, I've spoken to many in our Outspoken audience, many women who tell me that they know the skin on their neck is thinner, more delicate and less oily than facial skin, and they need specialized care, but they just don't know where to get it from. And so I have to say, that is why Go Pure is the answer. It is an absolutely beautiful product. This is the Go Pure Tighten and Lift Neck Cream. And it's transforming the lives and necks of women, and some men too, all across the globe. So let me tell you about this gorgeous product, because I saw a noticeable difference within just weeks. Oh, and by the way, Outspoken viewers and listeners get 25% off Go Pure if you use the code DAN, that's DAN, at checkout today. So just head to gopure.com/Dan, use code DAN, and you're all set. But what's so amazing about Go Pure is that its proprietary firming complex is actually designed to visibly firm and smooth the skin on your neck and chest in as little as 4 to 8 weeks. In a consumer study, 100% of users said their skin looked more supple, 97% noticed a firmer appearance. Indeed, Go Pure's full line of science-backed skin and body care have delivered for over 100,000 real women with real results. It's dermatologist recommended, cruelty-free, plus with over 1 million jars sold. I don't think you can say this is a beauty secret anymore, right? Because it's not a secret, if you get what I'm saying. So, tighten, lift, and restore elasticity in your neck, because your skincare routine shouldn't stop at your jawline. And for that limited time, Outspoken viewers and listeners get 25% off Go Pure using the code DAN, D-A-N, at checkout. Just head to gopure.com/Dan, use the code DAN, and you are all set. Quick favor too, after you buy, when they ask you where you heard about Go Pure, make sure you tell them it was after watching Outspoken. But now, back to the show.
Yeah, it doesn't work. The system doesn't work, does it? Because you're quite right. We don't really know where people stand, because they're hiding it because they want to remain on air. And the moment they come out and say, "Yeah, I support this party," they get taken off air. And the issue there is that there are certain outlets that are heavily sided up in one direction. We saw this with Sly News. The moment that Labour got in, they were orgasmic. We're seeing this with
Literally.
GB. Right. We see this with GB News, and they're pushing reform at every step of the way because we know the major financial backer has interests in reform too. And so there's a game of politics that happens that the viewers aren't necessarily aware of because they're not able to be made aware of. So whilst Ofcom, they say they're trying to make it more transparent and so that people can't be political on air, but actually what happens is people hide their politics, and so there's to subvert the system to remain on air. And so the viewers don't know, for example, that Sly News is a Labour Party broadcaster or that GB News is a Reform Party broadcaster. And we should know these things because they are propagandizing us. There's a reason that, for example, UKIP and the SDP and Reclaim don't get a look in on Talk TV or GB News. There's a reason these things happen, and so we should be all free to support whoever we like, and it should be open, and we should have, like the ladies was talking about, free speech. We should be able to support whichever party we like, and that should be okay.
Yeah, because Advance UK, for example, I'm just hearing today, already the 7th largest political party by membership, but of course completely boycotted and banned and blacklisted by all of those broadcasters, even those on the right. Father Calvin Robinson, thank you so much. We will speak next week. Can my pink ladies just stand by just for a couple more minutes? But to your feedback now, David Black writes, Labour doesn't seem to remember the politicians that have died at the hands of nut jobs. I would like to know what the monarchy has to say on this matter. Very good point. God is love and light in response to that shocking slight and slur that Mad Miliband, made about Elon Musk earlier, says Elon has British family roots. He's well entitled to be involved in UK politics. Truth Seeker says, love Elon, shining a light on the darkness in the UK. So do I, seriously. Stuart Wallace says you can get a police visit for calling someone a muppet. So what happens when you call someone a racist and a Nazi? Well, nothing. If you're on the left, of course, nothing. From Lazarotti, around the world, everyone knows who is really English, who is really Scottish, etc. No amount of lying, gaslighting, or slogans can change it. And Tyrone Taylor says you should be whatever your parents and their parents' nationality are. Just because you were born in a certain place or country does not make you that nationality. And I mean, of course, to me, it's just totally obvious. But like the trans debate, the left sort of try and gaslight into us into saying things which are completely untrue. Okay, to today's Union Jackass reveal. Now, a reminder of your nominees: Diane Abbott, nominated by Kaz Quinn for saying on Newsnight that she is all for people giving Nigel Farage a good kicking. David Lammy, nominated by Blame Game. He says Farage was born 19 years after the Hitler Youth was disbanded. Is Lammy so thick he believes his own statement, or is this something more sinister? I actually believe the latter. I think it is more sinister. I know some people just think he's thick. I think it's more sinister. And Ed Miliband, nominated by Eras Tours 69, who describes him as Ed Millie Brain. I like that. Okay, the results. In third position with 6%, Diane Abbott. The runner-up with 20% of the vote, Mad Miliband. But today's Union Jackass with an overwhelming 74% of the vote today, the Deputy Prime Minister, David Lammy. I was about to say David Miliband, but no, David Lammy. And to today's Greatest Britain, congratulations to Orla Minnie-Hayne and Sarah White, who are with me right now. Look at that. Epping says no. The two incredible ladies, the nomination, by the way, was by Mick Cass, the two incredible ladies who have organised the amazing Pink Ladies March in London today. And honestly, I mean, you've both been through it all summer long. You know, I mean, Sarah, God, you've been arrested, you know, you're facing trial, but still you both press on. And I hope you were so proud of what you saw in Westminster today, because it's the culmination of what has been an incredible summer, right?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, we're both incredibly proud and couldn't be happier with how it went today. And, you know, like earlier when we were saying about we get called racist, I don't care whether I'm called a racist. I don't care if I'm called a fascist, because at the end of the day, these words have basically become so overused now that they've lost all meaning. And we know that we're on the right side of history, myself and Ola and everyone included, and everyone who stands up and is being counted and who's making a difference. We are the ones that is going to make this country Great Britain again. And I could not be happier right now.
Indeed. And it is all about, as you can see there, save our kids. Save our kids, Orla.
I mean, I'm exhausted, I'll be honest, but I'm 10 years older than Sarah, so I can be more exhausted than she is. But, you know, I think there are days, Dan, and I'll be honest, where, you know, you wake up and you get really bad, really bad comments on X, and people say things and da-da. And the thing is, you know, the demon that is social media is that to get your message out and to get your, you know, your backing for your protests and backing for your agenda and getting the word out there, you have to use social media. I mean, when I was young, there was no social media, so you know, it's the devil that we have to all, you know, use. But when you do see it and you get abused constantly, and it does get you down sometimes, and you just think to yourself, God, why am I doing this? Like, shouldn't I just watch a box set? And you know. And then this morning when the stage didn't turn up, and Sarah and I in the car going up to the West End trying to get, ringing around scaffolders, trying to get a stage made, and you think I could be in bed. But ultimately, the government and the MPs and the, you know, the authorities, none of them are going to do what we need them to do unless there is pressure, because it's too hard. They don't want to do it for whatever the reason is. And we can have our conspiracy theories. We can look at Starmer and who Starmer's real boss is and who he's answering to and blah, blah, blah. They don't want to do it. And unless women like Sarah and I and all those wonderful women today and women up and down this country who I know will join us as we push this movement forward, if it isn't for us, then the men will keep coming in and the girls will keep being assaulted. And every time that happens, there is a stain on this country and a stain on our souls. And if we can stop one girl or boy, let's not forget that, you know, boys aren't, it happens to them as well. But if we can stop it happening to one more little child, then we've done our job.
Well, you
or done
have,
as much as we can do. Yeah.
You have absolutely done your job. I mean, as you say in that incredible piece of art, I think, really, Sarah, right side of history, and you are. Because, look, I've been saying it all summer long, and of course it took a long time for the mainstream media to catch up and work out what was happening, but Epping was ground zero of this movement, the migrant hotel uprising. It spread all across the country. I always knew it was going to come from a place like Essex, and it did. And the Pink Ladies was such a big part of it. So congratulations. And, you know, the great thing is I've got to know you both now. And this is the thing. It's all about making these connections and actually feeling, because sometimes we feel a bit hopeless, right? And I know that all of the Outspoken family feel a bit hopeless. But Sarah, it's like when we were together at Unite the Kingdom. I mean, I felt hope that day, actually. Sometimes that's what we need. And I think there was a lot of hope with what you both did today as well. So our greatest Britons, Orla Minnie-Hayne and Sarah White, thank you both so much. And please come back very soon. What does it say, Orla? What does it say?
Make Britain great again.
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Thank you both so much. But come back soon. Come back soon when you're not so exhausted, although you both look amazing, of course. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.